I don't want this video to be long. I just want to run through the biggest lessons I learned from setting that amount of money. I don't feel like saying that. In 9 days, my first month of high ticket sales. This audio is kind of shitty, which I'm kind of mad about, but it's all good. So just in case y'all don't believe me, this is when I started right in this group, March 9th, and this is the sales report. April 1st to the 9th, that's how much I brought in, that's how many calls I had, show rate, and all that good stuff. And this is just everything that I've done this past 9 days. I've set for all that, bro. Top of the leaderboard, all these screenshots, just so you know I'm not lying to y'all. But anyways, this is the 3 lessons that I learned. Let's just get right into it, bro. So first of all, you got to get good, right? So you got to know the game before stepping into it. So, I mean, what I did was, and the fastest way you can do it is get inside a mentorship or a community, because that's like the easier way to success. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is easier. I mean, just imagine if you're just alone, like by yourself and randomly scrolling on the internet, scouring, the www for random bits and pieces of information. Like, it's just not going to work as well. So you want to be a part of a community. This is the community I, put myself into, paid in full. It's ran by this gentleman right here, Colby. Look him up on YouTube. But yeah, they teach you stuff. You go mock calls and all that kind of stuff, and they get you right. So from there, you just got to master the basics. Don't try to go with a script. You can, but really the framework is more important. And then really what we're paying for is homeostasis. So if it's, freezing cold outside, someone's going to want a coat, right? If you're broke, someone's going to want some money. If you're thirsty, you're going to want some water. Like that's really all that it is, right? But these are like the basic steps. So you start off with someone's desire, you make them feel really good. Where do they want to be? And then you ask them about the current situation, so they get slightly frustrated, like how far are you from that? And then you go into, the cost of inaction. So that brings up a lot of fear. It's like, oh, what if you don't, start to lose weight within the next 6 months and all this kind of stuff. What's going to happen if you don't continue to change, right? And then you get them to admit that they need to change. And your product is the hope that they will grab onto to reach, their goals, right? And eventually they'll close. I mean, that's the basics of sales. There's not really much other than that. Obviously, you can get some training, but other thing too, I got this from Alex Hormozy, but volume really negates luck. So as soon as you get inside of a community, you understand the basics. Now you just need to put in the volume. And for this particular project I was on, I put in a disgusting amount of, this is my personal phone, by the way. I gotta delete all these freaking numbers, but like disgusting amount of people I've talked to, called, texted, and just ran the script, like ran the framework, you know what I mean? So literally this is my phone, and I hate how all these freaking numbers are in here, but it is what it is. I'm gonna figure that out later. Okay, so next is how to get good work. So you feel like, you're relatively, ready to get in the game. So now you gotta find the game that you wanna play, right? So follow your taste, not the money. And this is what I realized too. Like, figure out where you want to work and don't be afraid to pivot. Before I hopped on something that was actually working, I was on like 3 or 4 other offers. And I was only on there for like a day or 2 because I just realized it just wasn't for me. It just didn't feel good. I didn't like the offer. I didn't like the operator. I didn't like the way things were running. I didn't like the leads. Like, I didn't like the CRM. Like, I just didn't like it. And I was like, I didn't get into the space to get stuck. I got into the space so I can move as fast as possible. So you kind of want to be like Goldilocks. Like, big companies is a little bit less flexibility. So if you're a sales rep with CR, SDR, a closer, it's going to be kind of like, it's going to be hard for you to communicate to the higher ups like what's really going on, because their way is the highway, and because they can establish like, okay, our way's actually working. And it's going to be hard for them to want to actually change. The smaller companies, the startups, are like, there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of ways you could input things, but their systems might not be set up as well because they're just kind of they're doing it for the first time. It's not as like solid, which is also something I didn't really I just didn't really resonate with. So a little like a mid-sized company is something that I appreciated because the systems are there, it's solid, but it's not too big to the point where we can't communicate with the higher ups, and we could pivot and run audibles and go on the fly and shit like that. So that's something I really appreciated. So just try to find a company like that. And I guess revenue wise, I mean, I would say a company who can do, I don't know, about like 6 figures a month would be mid-size. and then big companies like 7 figures, and then smaller companies are more like 5 figures. So just ask them when you're on an interview how much revenue you guys are bringing in a month, and they'll tell you how big they are. But and then it's like, okay, work with someone that you want to hang out with. I know in the whole info space they say don't be a bot, and I think that shit is so dumb. It's like, bro, just be a human. Like, literally talk to these people like they're your boy. You know what I'm saying? Because they will be once you start working with them. And this is the man that I started working with. His name is Joy Forslin, and I sent him a loom because he was looking for people to work with. And I sent him a loom, and it was really personalized. I did a ton of research on it, and I made my own like loom. And it's something that I could never send to anyone else because it just wouldn't make any sense. And he appreciated it, and he brought me on board. So I can send that loom in the link in the description, just in case you guys are curious. But then how to feel good about your work. This is the last thing. So once you're inside the door, obviously, if you want to be relatively good at it, like you gotta like what you're doing. You gotta feel good about it, or else like you're gonna subconsciously sabotage yourself. So sell from compassion, not for commission. And basically what that means is like the more you care, the more you really are going to close. And this is a funny like bar that the Kobe dropped, which I thought was kind of cool. It was like the bar is so low in this game, seriously. Most people treat it like a side hustle. If you actually care, you'll lap everyone. And that is so true, because I feel like there's so many. You ever been on the phone with someone who's like a customer sales rep and you can tell they just don't give a shit because they're just reading off a script? It's like, that's not a good feeling. Like, that's not going to put me in a position where I would want to open my heart and give you some money. Like, I want to be on the phone with someone I feel like is my boy, or like someone who's just a homie. And that shit really like brings in money, man. It's a direct correlation. And every lead is unique. You got to handle them accordingly. So like I said, this last project I was on, I was talking from people all over the world, like Australia, Zambia, like Eastern Europe, you know what I mean? The Bahamas, like it was insane, right? And everyone's on different time zones, and everyone has a different situation. So I mean, in this particular instance, like this guy was dealing with some real life shit, right? We scheduled a call, but something came up. It was 12 a.m. and we had to figure out how we could, reschedule him and get him on the phone so he could actually, take advantage of this thing that we were selling him. And that's just how it is. It's like a very human job. And then like you have to love the game, man. Like your why has to be deeper than money. Like, yes, we got into this game to make some money, but at the end of the day, like you're dealing with people. Like you want your intention to be, I'm helping these people change the trajectory of their lives so they can actually get to where they want to be. And this is just like one example of it really being, that's just what it is. So that's it in a nutshell. If you want to get into the nitty gritty, maybe I can drop something more, but know the game, follow your taste, not your money, so that you can get a good job, and then sell from compassion, not for commission. If you follow those 3 things, like you're going to be solid. All right. Peace in the Middle East, and it's your boy T, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.